Well, we're drinking, and that's what it's all about. Sitting drinking at the house. What we're going to talk about this evening, both Nick and Eric were just chosen from a tournament at Rheingeist Brewing Company in Cincinnati. And they were chosen to brew one of their own home brews. And it is called?
It's called Homie.
And why was it called Homie?
I believe it was a play on words because of home brew, homie. I guess the unity of Rheingeist who, the home brewers and the fans that they have.
And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk a little bit about the home brewing process. We're also going to talk a little bit about how you guys got hooked up with Rheingeist. And we're just going to have a few homies here this evening at the Canal House. And so stay tuned. We'll be right back with you in just a few minutes. And once again, we have Nick Talkers and Eric Combs in the house. We'll be right back. Drinking at the House is recorded live several times a month at Canal House Bar and Grill at 14 South Broad Street in Middletown, Ohio. If you know someone that is interesting or someone that you may be interested in hearing from on our show, why not drop us a line? It's drinking@canalhousebar.com. And we are back drinking at the house with Nick Talkers and Eric Combs. Both of them are Middletonians, lifelong Middletonians. And if I'm not mistaken, both Nick and Eric graduated from Fenwick High School.
Yeah, that's correct. We both graduated from Fenwick in 2003. Eric and I, we've been best friends pretty much since, I'd say, about first grade. We grew up together.
Eric, what we were doing is, what I want to talk about is the home brewing experience. You guys have been home brewing for how long?
Well, Nick and Luke and other guys from college started home brewing, back in 2004 or 5 or 6?
It was about 10 years ago.
Yeah, about 10 years ago maybe. That was back at University of Cincinnati, and I kind of sat in a few times in those events, and they've pretty much been brewing relatively consistently ever since then, and we've really picked up, and I picked up with them in probably the last 4 years or so, brewing more on a once a month, once every couple month basis.
Nick, you said you brew in your garage.
Yeah, we brew in the garage. The actual brewing process happens in the garage. The fermentation happens in the basement. When we started brewing, it wasn't as big as it is now. I mean, the craft beer, craft beer scene's just blown up in the last 5 years or so. And back then there was one home brew shop nearby, Listerman's, up in Norwood, and it was one of the few in the nation. So we got a lot of our ingredients and stuff there, and that's basically where we started and got our ingredients there. Now there's probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 just in the Cincinnati-Dayton area.
Now, Eric, walk us through a little bit of the home brew process. A lot of people that aren't familiar with brewing beer and how the whole experience happens, it's really chemistry 101.
Yeah, basically you steep the malted grains that are roasted. You steep them in water, almost like a tea. You strain out the grains. You boil the leftover wort is what beer's called before it's fermented. You boil that. You add hops. It adds bitterness. It adds flavor, aroma. You cool it down to room temperature for an ale, or down to about 50 for a lager, and then you pitch your yeast. After a couple weeks, it ferments and it makes beer.
And and it's also about timing, right? It's how long you let things sit, at what temperature, things like that.
Oh, absolutely. Temperature, timing, everything's very critical depending on what style you're brewing, what type of beer, and alcohol percentage. There's just tons of variables, tons of factors.
As we move forward, we're going to talk about Homie and exactly how the recipe that you guys invented became the recipe that they brewed at Rheingeist. We'll be right back. We're talking with Eric Combs and Nick Talkers, and we're having a few homies here at the Canal House in Middletown. We'll be right back.
Hey, stop by the house and grab yourself a brand new Canal House t-shirt. It's the 2015 model. On the back it says awesome beer and some pretty shady people, and if you know us, you know that's what we're all about. Stop by the Canal House Bar, 14 South Broad Street in Middletown, Ohio, and grab yours.
We're with Nick Talkers and we're with Eric Combs. And if you've been following us, what we've been talking a little bit about is not just about the home brewing process and how they're both Middletonians. We're going to talk a little bit about the Rheingeist and how they got hooked up with Rheingeist Brewing Company, one of the best brewers in Cincinnati. Just won an esteemed designation from Men's Journal magazine, one of the top 100 beers, Truth, chosen right out of Cincinnati. Let's talk a little bit about the recipe process and perfecting the recipe, and as well as the tournament process. So you guys began working on Homie.
We probably began working on a Homie about 3 years ago, the first batch, and it's a double IPA, so it has a lot of hops, a lot of aroma, a lot of good bittering to it, and we've broken it down and really tweaked what hops we want in it after batch to batch to batch, and in the last couple of times we've really narrowed it down and entered a couple of competitions with it and done really well, and it's graded well, and we've been really pleased with it.
Just didn't do this for 3 years. You've actually done a lot of different things and award-winning things.
Yeah, so probably about 3 years ago, I'd say one of the biggest competitions we won was the national. Well, we didn't win; we got second place, but still the biggest competition we've done that well in. It's the national homebrew competition. We won first place regionally, which wasn't very regionally because our beers were judged in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We got first place there with an Oktoberfest. They sent it to nationals, and we got second place there. And that was 8,800 total entries. The Oktoberfest category had a couple hundred. I don't recall exactly how many, maybe 300 or so. That was a big one. We also won Best of Fest in the Cincinnati Oktoberfest, October's Best competition with that one. We got Best of Show at Dayton Art Institute's fest, or they had a homebrew competition with a double IPA there. That's just a few, but I mean we've probably got 10 medals, something like that at home, a couple ribbons, I don't know.
So when you get to a national level, I mean, you've got to be competing against, what, thousands of people? Or?
Oh, yeah, definitely thousands. I'll kind of break it down for you how competition goes. So the Rheingeist one, that one was regional. There were 39 entries in that one. We got first. The Oktoberfest that we won had, like I said, I think over 300. But you submit your beer, and there's judges. It's always BJCP sanctioned, beer judge certification program. I'm a certified BJCP. So you judge the beer based on certain criteria. You got aroma, flavor, appearance, and overall, basically, and then it's a score out of 40. So you got these guys. Some of them are Grandmaster 7s. They've been judging beer their whole lives, and they know everything there is about tasting beer, and it gets pretty complex, So they judge. The top scores go on, and then there's always a best of show round at the end, and they just pretty much pick which one's the best. And that's kind of the process our beers went through. Rheingeist was kind of just a best of show round the whole time. It had a couple rounds, almost like a tournament. So like first round ours advanced, second round it advanced, and then everybody, they told us that ours was unanimously the number one winner of all the beers. So
now, when did you guys start that? When did you submit your recipe?
I would say we probably submitted it. I think they tapped it on November 1st. I think we submitted that recipe about 2 months before that. It took about 3 weeks or so for them to get to judging them because they were pretty busy, and then we brewed it. It took about a month or so to ferment before they tapped it.
We're going to talk a little bit about the process. Now, you guys entered into a tournament.
Correct.
Explain a little bit about it, Eric.
Yeah, so Rheingeist put on a contest specifically for double IPAs, they had an event called Hopgeist, which was the first annual. I think they're going to start doing this every year because it was a pretty good success. And it so basically it was anybody could enter your own homebrew, and you put in your double IPA, give them a beer, and for judging and with your recipe, and basically hope for the best, and we came out and won the competition.
And then when did you guys find out that Rheingeist had chosen you?
I got a call. I think it was like, I don't know if it was a Friday or something. And they told us, and they said, "Hey, can you be here? Monday or I think they gave us a couple days maybe."
Well, the first email you got, I believe, was like a week prior to that call, was stating that we made it to the final grouping of the last 5 beers in the contest. So at that point, we said, "Okay, great." And then I think a week later, Nick got a phone call saying, "Hey, you guys won the thing. Congrats. Can you want to come down Monday and brew the beer with us?"
Let's talk about the moment. You know what I mean? It's like you're on the phone and they're like,
"Yeah, it was a great."
You guys are the ones.
Yeah, it's exciting because we've been doing our beer that same recipe for the most part a few times. You know, we have a lot of different recipes, but knowing that we were able to produce that on a mass scale was pretty exciting. And we've done small batches. We brew about 10 gallons of beer at a time, or 5, and now seeing how the whole process of brewing beer that's going to be dispersed through all over Cincinnati was pretty thrilling.
And not just Cincinnati, everywhere pretty much. Now, Nick, we were just talking earlier on the break, is that so you go down to Rheingeist, you're actually part of the process.
Yeah, Eric and I helped the head brewer there. They've got a huge system, a 30-barrel brew system, and we did 2 batches. So we don't know all the levers and buttons to push and all that stuff, but we kind of shadowed him. He guided us along. We helped him mash in, and we helped throw some hops in. We helped him crush the grain. We helped as much as we could.
And one thing I like to say, I couldn't believe the similarities of the home brew process versus brewing in a large scale like that. It's and like I said before, it's chemistry. It's all the same, but it's just bigger, fancier pieces of equipment that are basically doing the same thing we're doing in our garage and in our basement.
You've got to be impressed, man, when you go down and see the size of those vats and things that. You know what I mean?
The place is huge. The place is awesome. When you walk in and you see the big fermenters in there, and it's really impressive.
Yeah, one of the things that's really cool about this competition is Rheingeist did. They brewed 2 batches in a 20-something barrel system. So there's kegs all over the place, and there are other breweries and competitions that you get to brew it with pros, but usually it's a small system. They're not distributing it. It's in the tap house for a week or 2, but this is the biggest one regionally, I know. And I'm sure it's probably one of the biggest in the nation. It's got to be one of the bigger ones in the nation of getting homebrew beers out there and distributed. And we can look up our beer and see how it's got like 500 reviews on Untapped already.
And I was a beer advocate. There was also Rate Beer.
Yeah, Untapped it's got like 500 some reviews. It's got a 3.84, which is a really, really good score.
Insane, dude.
Yeah.
Insane.
So if you're listening, get on Untapped right now and give us a 5. Shameless plug.
Tonight we're in Canal House. We're actually in your hometown. We tapped the beer. We took the first 3 beers out of it. That's got to be.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's come full circle. Yeah.
That's a homecoming. Yeah, you know what I mean? That is absolutely insane,
As a home brewer who's, this is a hobby for us, and a hobby we really enjoy. It's probably nothing we'll ever make a career out of, but that's really, it's pretty much the pinnacle of your home brewing hobby when you get to brew it on a big system. They distribute it all over the place, and you get to drink it in your local bar where you grew up,
We're honored to have you here tonight. We are going to hang out and drink at the house, but we're with Eric Combs, Nick Talkers. We've had a great time, and thank you guys so very much.
Rob, thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. You running this event for us, and really
I'm so glad
thankful
you guys
for you.
took a moment.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Hey, and we're going to drink some more. Thank you for listening. We are drinking at the house, and I mean the Canal House in Middletown, Ohio. 14 South Broad with two bad mofos in the brewing community. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys for participating.
Well, we're drinking, and that's what it's all about. Sitting drinking at the house. Drinking at the House is recorded live several times a month at Canal House Bar and Grill at 14 South Broad Street in Middletown, Ohio.